Welcome to the Know Yourself Revolution podcast and summit. My name is Grace Gravestock, and I'm excited to introduce you to Julie Greenberg today. She is the founder of Creative Awakening, and we are going to talk about how to find clarity, direction, and purpose. Let me tell you a little bit more about Julie. So Julie Greenberg is a graduate of Wayne State University, a certified human design and angel card reader, a certified energy healer, a 5 rhythms dancer, a graduate of the Hoffman Institute, and the founder of Creative Awakening. Julie is a teacher, artist, and guide who uses human design and self-expression to help you find clarity, direction, and purpose by unleashing your creativity and awakening you to the truth of who you are. I'm excited to hear your story today, Julie. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so grateful and so excited to have the opportunity to talk to you and hopefully inspire people out there.
Absolutely. And you have a very inspiring story. And before we get into it, I want to talk a little bit about your human design. As we help people understand themselves through what a lot of people understand as human design, but without the jargon. And so I want to just show a little bit about your chart here and tell you what jumps out at me about your chart. And the reason that I'm sharing this at the beginning of this interview is to help illustrate how, as you tell your story, I want our listeners to be thinking about these aspects and how they're probably going to come across in the story that you tell. So Julie, in your chart, I can see that you're an orchestrator in traditional human design. That's called a projector. And so you are here to wait for the invitation or wait for others to come to you. And that's because you're not for everyone, but you're super powerful and amazing with your superpowers, which you have quite a few of them. And you are here to be invited by those who see your expertise and see your specialness and ask you for guidance. When I look at your public role, I see that you are what we call a networker mentor. And I can't wait to hear more about your story. People with your configuration have 3 very distinct phases of life: ages 0 to 30, 30 to 50, and then 50 plus. And so it's almost like 3 different lifetimes. And the purpose of all that experience, all that variety of experience that those 3, I'm going to call them lifetimes of experiences, brings, is it allows you to be a more informed and empowered mentor to others, a guide, if you will. And you're here for your people. And as a 4 line, you're here for your tribe, your family, your friends, your group, all the people that you feel are your people. And what I suspect we would hear if we asked enough questions is that the most important people that have come into your life have come through somebody. And so that's part of what makes you really special. And one more thing that I want to, and then I'll ask you what you think. Obviously, you're going to tell us your story, but I just want to point out that your grand purpose, what we call grand purpose in life, is to explore, experiment with, and experience the habits and rhythms necessary to implement new ideas and possibilities, to share and demonstrate the habits and consistency born of experience that set the stage for exploring new ideas, to embody and teach others how to be consistent and habitual, and to teach from experience and use your experience to know which new ideas to explore and experiment with, laying the foundations for rhythm and consistency as the medium for exponential growth and compassionate expansion. And I think it's so interesting that your grand purpose is the same as some of the people that have been closest to me my entire life. So I'm particularly drawn to people with your purpose. And I feel like a big part of that is because I need that reminder to have consistency and habits and things in place, because I tend to be all over the place sometimes. So that's a lot, but it says a lot about how amazing you are. And so I want to just ask you, how does that resonate with you?
You can tell me I'm amazing as much as you want. I will sit and I will receive that. So wonderful to hear you and your description of me and my chart. And it's pretty spot on. Human design radically changed my life. And you talk about relationships. Yes, a major part of how I have come to Chicago and how I met my husband and how I met you. And so, yes, definitely a part of it. Rhythm. It's interesting because finding out about my purpose and the information that's in the chart explained so much. Rhythm. I'm a 5 rhythms dancer. I moved back to Chicago to be with the rhythm of Mother Nature. And that ritual and that routine, the consistency. I've said for years, I love a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet because for me, it's the structure that allows for the creativity and for the flow. So, yeah, spot on in so many ways.
Excellent. I can't wait for you to be able to share more of your story. As the purpose of this show is to give entrepreneurs like yourself a platform to share your personal transformation story, how you came to do the work that you do, and how you came to know that this was part of your purpose to find meaning and I'm going to say meaning and purpose in your work, this kind of work that you do, helping other people in their creative awakening. So I'd love to invite you to share more about the story that led you to this place, to doing this kind of work, please.
Sure. They say we teach what it is that we need to learn. And for me, my life wasn't working. I had just started, I'd been a soccer coach for over 15 years. It was never what I wanted to do, but I somehow got invited into it and it was successful. It was successful, but behind the scenes, I was studying astrology. I was studying numerology. This was in Los Angeles in an affluent community. And I had what felt like a secret life. And we had a successful business. And then the drought came and we didn't have as many classes. And then we grew so fast and it was something that turned into something that was more that we could handle. And everything started to unroll. And behind the scenes, I was searching and I'd always been really fascinated by human dynamics, the differences. We had the motto in our soccer business of there is an I in team. So I was just really interested in the human dynamics, not the sport. And I was interested in the kids, infusing the kids with love, seeing it in them when they didn't see it in themselves, acknowledging that we have our own process and pace. And after our soccer business kind of fell apart, we explored different things. I had that business with my husband and we started exploring different things. We knew that we were creative. We always called our projects. And I really just wanted to work with children and I wanted to bring creativity into their worlds. Um, and from that, we did little things here and there. Not many of them were successful, but we tried and the passion was there. And then I decided that I wanted to have a creative healing center. Now, for me, one thing that I want to explain about the word creative is yes, it can incorporate art and dance and music and all of those things. But for me, creativity is all about unique expression, which is one of the reasons I love human design, the science of differentiation. So we decided to open up a healing center, a creative healing center in Los Angeles. And I was telling all my friends, I was inviting anybody and everybody that I knew that had something that they were passionate about, that they were bringing their magic to the world. I invited them all into the space and it wasn't working. So you ask me what got me to the point that I'm at now, which is my life wasn't working. My business wasn't working. My marriage wasn't working. My money situation was suffering because I was so ingrained and engrossed with my husband in everything that I was doing. And later on, what I learned was that I'm a projector. And I was inviting because I was passionate. I wanted to make a difference in the lives of other people. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And so if somebody was taking a chance to step into something new, then I wanted to be the one to give them that chance and I wanted to support them along the way. So my life wasn't working and I was at a 5 rhythms class and I met my teacher, mentor, and friend in the back alley and we just started talking and she said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I can help you." I went to one of her workshops and it explained why everything wasn't working. And I just gravitated and took on so strongly human design. Finding out that I was a projector radically changed my life. She said to me when I met her in the back alley, she said, I can help you. And with the studying and the readings and the conversations and all that's taken place between that time and now, I can look at somebody in the eyes and say, I can help you too. So for me, human design radically changed my life because it explained to me why my life wasn't working. It explained to me why the invitations weren't working. It explained to me why I could go into a dance room and be the ever ready battery and just dance and dance and dance and feel like I was so stressed out. That was the only way that I could release the stress. But now when you look at my chart, which you saw, I just have the head and the ajna. So all of that energy, it wasn't actually mine, but the conversation that I had in my head for years and years and years is I'm a stress case. I'm a stress case. And I kept working harder and I kept dancing harder and I kept asking more people, inviting more people, everything that is actually the not self or incorrect for my particular design. So I started studying. I started studying, I started studying, I started studying. The science of differentiation said it all for me because what I learned as I've gone through my own journey is that I'm unique, I'm different. We're all unique and different, but I was so homogenized growing up that I lost my voice. I lost my voice as a child with my perspective being different and the encouragement to fit in. I lost my voice as a wife because I got acknowledgement and I wanted to be connected and lost myself on that journey too. And so with human design, what it's taught me is that I have an opinion, I have a voice, and that it's okay to share them. It's taught me the importance of rhythm, routine, and the things that you talked about at the beginning, because those are the things that stabilize me, that allow for my creativity to shine. And for me, the creativity and the self-expression, so many of the people I work with, and myself included, we are so plugged up. We're not connected to our feelings. And self expression is the way out of that. But through human design and awareness, tools of self expression for me is the work that I do. We don't get there the same way. I am not a communicator in writing. I'm a communicator in dance. It's expression and it's that energy that we move that allows for new to come in. So that was a long babble. I don't even know if I answered your question, but that's a projector thing too. It just keeps coming.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So when you say that you didn't know, you realized why things weren't working, could you talk a little bit more about what that means?
Being a projector, it explained it. You talked about waiting to be invited. For me, I had a business. I wasn't getting customers to my business, and I just kept inviting because the more it wasn't working, the more I invited. And the more I invited, the more I invited. Projectors were supposed to wait to be acknowledged. So that was one of the things that was a big game changer for me in my awareness. The other thing was the more it wasn't working, the harder I worked, the harder I worked, the harder I worked. I'm a projector with an undefined sacral, so I don't have the energy to do that. Although I thought I did, because in the dance room, I was in the middle of the room like a crazy woman with hundreds of people around me. So the openness of my design explained so much. It explained the emotions that I had that I repressed that were so overwhelming. Were they mine? Were they actually mine? Was I taking it all in from everybody else? It explained the chart. It says so much. It says so much. I've just become so passionate about it because it's brought me so much clarity. It's brought me so much clarity, and it gives me a conversation and a structure. Again, talking about that 5, it gives me a structure. It gives me something that's consistent that I can go to, that I can look at, that I can interpret, that I can share with other people, and that the creativity comes in not only on their own journey, but even with you sharing your creative approach to explaining the chart to me. It's magical. It's magical. I'm a super fan.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of the things we have in common because that changed my life as well. So all that openness in your chart, Julie, for people who are unfamiliar with that, it does make you very unique. The way I like to describe it is you have a lot of borrowed energy. And so when you're in the room with a lot of people, with let's say other people, you could easily feel overwhelmed, right? Because you're absorbing all that energy from the room. And you might, like you mentioned in your story, you might feel like you have all this energy to dance in this case or whatever it is, but it's not sustainable energy because it's being borrowed from the others in the room. So you have it, but not sustainable. And that's really helped explain probably the feelings of overwhelm that you had when you were in a group and so many other things. I'm wondering if there's anything else you want to say about that very unique
So true.
configuration.
It's so true. I say it to my husband and my daughter all the time. I'm overstimulated. I'm overstimulated. And yet the opposite happens. When I'm in that dance room, I actually have to dance. Like it's like being revved up. I have to dance. And then when I'm done, I'm done. And one of the interesting things that I got to experience and explore was we were living in Los Angeles, and during COVID, I moved to Chicago. We had a home in Chicago too, or outside of Chicago, and I got to be alone. I got to be alone in my own aura for almost a year, and I really got to experience how it feels to be me without the energetics of anybody else. And it was during COVID in the winter. So it was really like me with me with me. Magical and so different. And I'm so grateful for this information because it gives me tools to navigate, and it gives me tools to understand why I feel the way that I do. And that awareness, the awareness, which is the game changer of human design, having the awareness gives us the opportunity to make new choices. So I don't get pulled into things the way that I used to get pulled into them, or I say no because I know that it's going to tap me out.
And I just lost my train of thought. So when you are, oh yeah, you mentioned being alone. A lot of people are afraid to be alone. For somebody of your configuration, we call them orchestrators or projectors. It is actually really important for you to be alone. And the way I understand that is because you need to be in your own aura or in your own space to be able to offload all that energy that you've picked up like a sponge when you've been with people. Could you talk a little bit more about that and how you've incorporated that into your life?
It's so true. It's so true. And I didn't get it until I was alone with myself for that period of time. Sometimes I say it could be that little eccentric lady that lives in the little yellow house that never comes out, because I like to be alone. I love to be alone, and I love to be in my contemplation and my reflection and my setting. But it also is when I'm the most zen. And what I've learned from human design is that it's better for me to be zen and not so revved up. I have a very mentally chattery mind. It's constantly going. And it's really the practice of grounding and receptivity and being in nature and being alone, all of those things that bring the insight that I'm looking for as I'm trying to figure it out. It doesn't happen that way. So when I'm alone with me, it just changes. The energy changes. I feel who I am. I'm connected to my spirit and my soul. I remember who I am. That's really what it is. I remember who I am, and I get pulled away easily. Not as much now because of the awareness of what's going on, but I understand that I can hang out with the yogis, or I can go to the corporate environment, or I can be the soccer mom, and I can do it all. I don't like it all, but I can do it all. And the other thing that you talked about, the way that I describe all of the openness when I'm having conversations with people, it's like going into Baskin and Robbins and trying all of the flavors of ice cream. I might like the peanut butter, I might like the vanilla, but I'm not a super fan of chocolate chips. So there's an awareness and an understanding, but this is really it's the awareness of it. It's the awareness of it that makes me choose new ways of navigating my life and my behavior.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thank you. So you mentioned the invitation, and I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say what you did. So I want to talk a little bit more about it. You mentioned that when you were inviting others to your business, that wasn't working. That really surprises me because the way I understand it is that the strategy, in your case, waiting for the invitation, is meant to go both ways. That's normally how I understand it. So I'm wondering why you feel that wasn't working for you in those instances.
It's been a familiar, when you think about when you talked about the line 4 and thinking about relationships and how I've met people and my job, there really has been a connection and an invitation. Even doing soccer for 15 years, my husband invited me to do it. The things, when I go over my life and see the things that I've elected to do that I wasn't invited to do, but I did, fueled by passion and the desire to make a difference, it just flatlines. It just flatlines. And even in this creative healing center, it would be so interesting because we would have these, now she's 13, but back then it was the kindergartners or the first graders. And we would be on these mommy chats. And I would say, hey, we're having a sound bath, or hey, if you're interested, come do this yoga class. And it would just be quiet. It would be quiet. And I would be excited thinking that I was doing a good thing, but it would be quiet. And then another mom would post and everybody would be responding. And I just have seen how that has happened throughout my life. So there is something about that acknowledgement and that invitation that really is true for me. I've been playing around with it for a lot because I'm fueled by the desire to make a difference in the lives of other people. It's the four. It's the relationships, it's the heart-to-heart connections. It's seeing it in somebody else when they don't see it in themselves. Like all the things I did with the 3-year-olds are the same things that I'm doing with the 50, 60, and 70-year-olds. I'm giving them permission to be who they are. I'm seeing it in them when they don't see it in themselves. And I'm giving them a little love infusion along the way. And it needs to be recognized because I'm passionate about it. And I come on strong out of passion. But it's that thing, if you're not asking for it. Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people that have your configuration, I know some of them because they are in my family, and they tell me that it feels very disempowering to have to just wait for the invitation. And so as I know you also teach this and you study this, what can you say to people with that type of configuration that you also have about that part of what we call strategy?
Yeah. Pull weeds and move furniture, clean your house and clean your drawers. And for me, it's about the sparkly aura. It's about the sparkly aura, and our strategy is success. So it's not sitting around and not waiting. I am doing things all of the time. In fact, I'm constantly doing things all of the time. I've got my spreadsheets. I've got all of those kind of things. It's a passive waiting. It's an active waiting. And for me, what I really focus on is doing things that make me feel successful, because as a projector, we want to be acknowledged. We want to be noticed. And the way that we're noticed is with a sparkly aura. So when I pull weeds, I'm out in nature, I'm cleaning my yard, I see it instantly that what I've done has made a difference, and it makes me feel successful. The other thing that I do all of the time that I've found that other projectors often do, I'm constantly moving furniture. So for Owen's son, I'm moving furniture because I'm changing the environment. I'm changing the environment. And as I'm changing the environment, I'm actually receiving. Versus sitting at my desk trying to figure it out with my mind. But doing things that make you feel successful. Because what we're trying to do is be acknowledged and be invited. And the way that we do that is when we're vibrating high. It's the energy of love. It's having the space to bring in the new and that element of success. We're going for success. So we might not be successful with the program yet. And there's also a huge amount of faith and trust, recognizing that there's cycles to life, that everything happens in its own time, everything in its own time by the Indigo Girls, for those of you that listen. And I came back to Chicago to connect with nature, because we don't force winter to come in June. It just doesn't happen. We just know that it's coming. We're expecting it to come. We get out our boots and we put on our hats. We're anticipating. We just trust and know that it'll come. So keeping our aura sparkly by doing things that make us feel successful, whatever that may be. That's what we do while we're waiting. And we study. I'm constantly studying. I'm taking classes. I'm doing my own research. I'm studying myself. Because I have a lot of 6s in my chart, and we're here to teach what it is that we need to learn. So I really have to study and have a sense of who I am so that I can be empowered to empower the other. And the more I study, the more I learn about me, the more I really ground in the learning. And it constantly constantly unfolds. You know that from human design. It constantly unfolds. You can have as many readings as you want. I've heard something from you that I haven't heard from other people the way that you described it. We hear it when we're ready to hear it.
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I have told my clients who are of your configuration, orchestrators or projectors, is while they're waiting to focus on self-care. And the reason that I say that is because my understanding is you have such an important role in this world, especially right now, as we transition from old ways of living, working, and being to new ways of living, working, and being. The work that you're doing is literally midwifing the new earth, the new paradigms. It's so significant and important, and yet it's not always physical, it's not always visible to the naked eye. And so what I always say is people with your configuration are here to hold energy and hold space. And so when you do that, when you hold space, you're actually creating the framework for all of us to step into, and especially you with your particular configuration as a role model or a mentor, you are leading by example in that. So I always say for people of your configuration, practice self-care while you're waiting, because if you are not ready for those invitations when they come, they're not going to come to you until you're ready, because they're so important. They're so massively important. So if you're watching this and you have the same kind of configuration as Julie, as either a projector, if depending on where you got your chart, projector or orchestrator, whatever it says, that very type of configuration, having this the open sacral is really what makes you have that kind of configuration. But it's really important that you are taking care of yourself, because it's only when you're ready for the invitation that it's going to come to you. So that's something that I always stress, because projectors tell me how frustrating they feel it is to have to just wait for the invitation, wait to be invited by somebody who sees you, wait for somebody to recognize your uniqueness. But the fact of the matter is, you are here for a very particular group of people, and the ones who see you are the ones that you're here for. And you're like the most important person in the world that they could ever meet. They will be the ones that will see you because they're meant to see you. And so I want to acknowledge you and thank you for showing up. Thank you for holding space for all of us, for creating what needs to be created on an energetic level to help us move forward into a new way of living, working, and being. Thank you, Julie. It's because of you that
No
we're able
pressure.
to. It's because of
No pressure. I agree with you on the self-care part. And I take that job description actually very seriously, which is why I'm so deeply in the study, because I know that we are here for an important role, and we're here for our children. I gravitate to kids because I have one of my own, and because that's what my journey was most of my part of my adult career. But they're so wise, and the world is changing, and we need to support them and give them the information, the tools, the outlets for all the things. I'm now living in Highland Park, and we had the shooting here. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I have just observed what's going on as the reaction to that and the solar plexus. So I'm super passionate about self-expression, connection to self-expression, and the outlet of the emotion versus the drugging of the emotion, and the connection to our intuition so that we can learn to navigate and make choices for ourselves. I grew up in a very homogenized environment, and that's been part of my journey. You talked about the 3 phases, right? Homogenized, a little confused, and now as I'm in that 3rd phase, because I'm 55 now, really coming into my own power to empower other people to be who they are and share their truth. That's it. That's
so.
it.
Yes, yes. I love that you're doing that, Julie. And I wanted to invite you to talk about the person that you can most help. Talk to me about the person who's listening right now, who you are here to help support in their journey.
Yeah. So I am here to help the person who's at a crossroads, spiritual crisis of meaning, however you want to put it, at a crossroads where you're feeling lost and confused, feeling stuck, feeling scared, feeling afraid. That's my person. Whether that is a 12-year-old that's having friend things, or a 55, 60-year-old whose kids are gone, or they've gone through a divorce, or they're ready to step into the next thing. I'm the person that will help you navigate the terrain, and I help people by reconnecting them to who they are. And you got to go in to get out. So using the human design chart is one of the things that I do. But I'm here to help guide you. I'm here to help guide you. I'm here to help support you. And I'm here to help love you along the way, because and I learned that from the 3-year-olds. Like I had the magic power. That was my sauce. I saw it in them and I loved them. They were scared. I rubbed their backs. I held their hands. Same things happen to 55, 60, and 70-year-olds. Like I said before, change is scary. Change is scary. Sorry, go ahead.
There's so much change going on right now. There's people getting laid off. There's AI taking over a lot of work that used to be done by humans. And so I know that there are people who are afraid, and I know that you can help them. So I know that one of the things that you offer is the Creativity Activation Guide. Could you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so awareness is a word that I used a lot in this conversation. So this guide will give you a little introduction to the world of human design, but I like to focus on the awareness centers, because the awareness centers provide us with insight and information, and awareness is the first step to change. So there's information on the awareness centers, fear that lives there, and then the gift, because with everything that's happening, there's a shadow side and there's a gift. And one of my specialties is shifting perspective, showing you that there can be a shift in your perspective and empowering you to do it. There's information on that. And then we're going to talk about creativity and what that means and ways to tap into it, and the impact of self-expression. And there's all different kinds. So in my work, we'll have a session, but in that session, we may dance. In that session, we may color. In that session, we may write, because all of those things are outlets. And when we're talking about emotion, which is the main thing for me, because I was so open and I was told to stop crying when I was a little kid, it led me down the path of eating disorder and exercise addiction and all of those things, because I didn't feel my feelings. So they need to be expressed. It just doesn't mean that it has to be this type of expression. It can be in the dance. It can be in the art. It's about moving the energy. And when we're looking at a human design chart and when we're having a human design conversation, really what we're talking about is energy. So to release the energy, to move the energy so that the new information can come in. So in this guide, there'll be some tips and tricks of different ways that you can navigate that. And mostly it really is to connect you to you. To connect you to you. As a guide, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm inspiring you to make choices for yourself. I like to say, put your big girl panties on, your big boy panties on, so that you learn to be comfortable and confident in your opinions, your voice, your decisions, and show up authentic and show up in integrity and share your magic with the world. And sometimes we lose our way, but we can always get back on track with a little direction and a lot of love, which is what I like to bring to the conversation.
Absolutely. And I just want to highlight that, and at this time when so many people are fearful about AI taking over work and so many other things, creativity is one of the things that make us human. There's no AI that can replace the creative output that you can generate. Any of us can. We are human, and being human means that we have and we need and we are able to give some kind of creative expression, and that cannot be automated. And so that is one of the ways that we can own our power, especially at this time when it can feel otherwise disempowering, when the work is going away and we're trying to think, what am I supposed to do now if the thing that I used to do is now done by an AI or a robot or something? What does it mean? And so I think now it's more important than ever to start really tapping into our creativity and our self-expression. So thank you for offering that, Julie. Thank you for helping people find clarity, direction, and purpose by activating their own creativity, because it's something a lot of people don't know how to do and frankly haven't been doing for many years. And that's probably what's been creating stuckness.
And I listen to you say that, and my heart starts beating, and I almost want to cry, because the thing about creativity is it's to me, it's unique perspective, it's possibility thinking, it's vision and dreams, it's taking situations that we're being confronted with that we feel are out of our control, and how to use that to redirect and turn it into opportunity and possibility, and not let it take us down, but use creative problem solving and a new perspective. I move furniture. I said it before. I have never put it back the same way. I can't even tell you how many different, my husband and my daughter are like, Mom, but it never, and I don't even know why I do it, but I understand why I do it through the eyes of human design. There's so many different ways. And when I just moved my chair, it's like, oh, I never noticed the mirror. Like, you see things completely differently, which can give us hope, which can get us onto a whole new path that might surprise us and bring more magic to our lives than we could have ever dreamed of. So when it's scary, that's the kind of person that I love to be with, because I'm a message of hope, and it's not coming from woo. It's coming from energy. It's coming from perspective. It's coming from belief and trust and empowering ourselves to be strong, because I got disempowered along the way. No blame. It's all part of the story, right? You talked about that at the beginning. My story is part of why I'm here doing what I'm doing. It's to be empowered as I sit and talk to you and hopefully impact the viewers. And it's to empower you to be empowered so that you can power somebody else, and so on and so on. We need each other, but we need each other to be who we are. We don't need each other to be the same person that we are. That's the science of differentiation. That's when we come together with our magic, and that's where we change the world.
Absolutely. And so, as Julie, my vision with the Know Yourself Revolution is to positively impact 5 billion people by 2025. What is that really about? That's about inspiring others to stand as themselves, to really know who they are, to not be afraid to stand up for what they are and who they are, to completely learn to express and have confidence in expressing themselves. And here's why: because when you stand in your full power, that empowers other people, so many other people, to stand in their power. And when I do the same, and we all lead by example in our families, in our communities, it has the impact of changing the world just like that, because it's through frequency. Think about if we were ever worried about germs or something transmitting something in that way, how much more powerful can we be in transmitting positivity, in transmitting authenticity? And that is what the Know Yourself Revolution is about. So I stand with you. We are part of the same team. To empower others to know, love, and trust themselves. And so if you're listening right now and this resonates with you, please reach out to Julie and get your creative activation guide at julie@acreativeawakening.me. That is something that can immediately help you. It will give you a taste of what working with Julie is like. And it will help you to tap into your creativity, because I would put money on the fact that most people listening right now, it's been a while, probably too long, that they haven't been using their creativity, and they've been operating on rote, operating on routine. And nothing wrong with having good routines in place, but what makes us special as humans is our own creativity. And so you can activate that when you reach out to Julie at creativeawakening.me. So thank you so much for being here, Julie. Thank you for standing in your own power. Thank you for holding space for so many others to stand in their power, for empowering them, but with your work, your creativity, activation work, and so much more that you help them as a guide. Is there anything that you can share with somebody who's probably on the fence right now? Maybe they're listening to your story, they're listening to all this differentiation stuff. Maybe this is the first time they've heard about human design, and maybe they're fearful, because I know what I was like when I first heard about it. Like, that can't possibly be true. You can't possibly know me. You can't possibly know what I'm good at or what I'm about. There's no way that you could possibly know that with my date of birth, time of birth, and city of birth. I was not a believer at that point. And yet, when I tried it out, I was shocked to find that it explained so much, just like your story. For me, the story was, I'm not broken after all. Whoa, I thought I was. I had somebody for 15 years of my marriage telling me that I was broken and that I was unfixable. And that was the reason why, blah, 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 all these things in my life that were making me unhappy, when really all it was is I was out of alignment. So I know that this is an amazing tool to help somebody understand what that means to be themselves. We hear those words, but not many people know what it means to really be themselves. So thank you for holding space for them. Is there anything else you would want to say to that person right now, Julie?
Reach out to me. I'll hold you. I'll hold your hand. I'll hold your hand. It's a role that I play so naturally. That's my secret sauce. I'm the love infuser, and it is scary, but when you have support along the way, it makes it a whole lot easier. And as a projector, I always see something different. I always see something different. And that's me being me. I always see the good in people. I always see the potential in people. I see it in you when you don't see it in yourself. And I do it in a loving and supportive way. We need each other. We need each other. And I also just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what it is that you're doing. I'm so honored. It's a privilege to be here and to be a part of this conversation, because it's the conversation that needs to be out there in the ethers, just like you said. And I'm just so appreciative. I really am. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Glad you're here. Appreciate you so much and all the work you're doing. If you are interested in working with Julie, she's not going to force you into anything, but just have a conversation. Send her a quick email, julie@creativeawakening.me, and she will be able to give you that creativity activation guide. And that is going to be an amazing way to start the journey of knowing who you really are. And once you know who you are, you can stand in your full power. You didn't even know that you had all these superpowers, I bet. Once you understand what they are, it gives you permission. Julia, you and I both know it gives you permission to be yourself. But until you see it.
I do want to say one other thing. Not only does it give you permission to be yourself, but it gives you a new lens to look at other people, and you get to give them permission to be who they are too. It really helps me take away judgment and just get that it's mechanics. It's just mechanics. And it's a great tool for understanding who we are. And it's a great tool for understanding the people in our lives. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Julie, and appreciate what you're doing. Reach out to Julie to get your creativity activation guide if this resonates with you. And you can also watch more stories like this of other entrepreneurs who overcame challenges to find their purpose in a more meaningful life when you sign up at knowyourselfrevolution.com. More of these stories, you will hear them, you will be inspired, and you will be empowered with new tools and new ways to show up in the world in your full power, no longer in fear, but coming from a place of love and empowerment. You can change the world starting with yourself and your own family. So thank you for being here. Thank you again, Julie. I'm excited about the work you're doing. And one last time, get your creativity activation guide by contacting Julie at julie@creativeawakening.me.
Thank you.
Thank you.